This is Numbers with Nicole, and today we're going to do a lesson on inscribed angles in a circle. So we're going to recall some information first. Arc measure is the number of degrees in a part of an arc, or a part of the curve of a circle, right? So the number of degrees that form that amount, right? And so the intercepted arc is the amount of arc that is in between the pieces of the angle. So this piece in red is in between these rays of this central angle here. And so a central angle is an angle whose vertex is on the center, and that central angle will be equal to the measure of the arc in terms of degrees. So if the central angle is 100 degrees, the intercepted arc would be 100 degrees. Now that's for central angles, which we've already talked about in a previous lesson. In this lesson, we're going to talk about what is an inscribed angle. So this is an angle with a vertex on the circle. So here's the vertex. It's on the circumference or on the curve of the circle. It's not in the circle. It's not on the center. It's on the circumference or on the curve of the circle. And we know the measure of this angle, which I'll call A, will be equal to 1/2 the measure of the intercepted arc. So I'm going to call this B, and let's call this C. So that would be 1/2 of arc BC. So let's say, for example, that arc BC is 100. So half of that would make the inscribed angle, the measure of angle A, 50 degrees, or half of that arc. So that's the relationship here that we're going to be applying. So model number 1, find the measure of angle ABC in degrees. So this measure of this angle marked X, and the intercepted arc is 100 degrees. So the arc that is in between the legs of that angle, the rays of the angle. So we know the measure of angle ABC will be half of the measure of the intercepted arc AC, and we know that AC is in between those rays. We also know that a minor arc is typically labeled with 2 letters, where a major arc ABC would be 3 letters. Okay, so we're going to take half of 100, and that would be 50 degrees for the measure of angle ABC, right? Because it's an inscribed angle, it will be half the measure of the intercepted arc. So we can go in the opposite direction as well. We know that the measure of angle B, or ABC here, is 75. And we know that the measure of angle B would be 1/2 the measure of the intercepted arc. And the intercepted arc formed by the rays of that angle, or in between those rays or those pieces, is AC. So since the measure of angle B is 75, half of what amount, or the measure of arc AC, would give us 75, or we could multiply both sides by 2. Opposite of multiplying by half would be multiplying by 2. And so we get 150 for the measure of intercepted arc AC in degrees. So again, that's how many degrees form the arc, not how long the arc is.